Hello and welcome to the Inverted Fullback. My name is Glenn Preston and today I'm going to do a video on how to implement a 5-4-1 that can become a 6-3-1. What happens when you play against a side that's so much superior to you technically, and you know it's hard to get good pressure on the ball because you don't have numbers high up the pitch. They draw you out of position in these kind of localities. How does that leave you a little bit sort of open in these sort of 10 areas in the half spaces? These are always the sort of problem areas for me in a 5-4-1. How you can get outnumbered sometimes 3-4 versus 2, and if teams can keep the ball and circulate it well, how it allows them to get maximum width and really pin your wing backs back into this back line and they can get good numbers. A Manchester City type team who'll put 5 and 6 players up against that back line or between the lines, and you don't really want to leave it 1v1 all over. I'm going to show you a real life case study where we were playing against Arsenal, who were technically far superior to us. Tactically, they were very, very fluid, incredible form. We were down near the bottom and we had to get a point to stay in the league. We can here look at the background of the teams. You can see Arsenal's form over the last 5 games, 20 goals scored, 1 conceded. Ourselves were second from bottom and we need a point to stay in the league. We can look at sort of what formations they've played, what we think the starting lineup would be, and in particular what the attacking shape was going to look like. From this we do a lot of data analysis, so we identified where do they score their goals. So this is the most dangerous area for creating chances, and Miedemar, their top goal scorer, scores from this locality in particular. It was a real hot spot. Secondary areas, the left-hand half space. So I'll give you just a quick example of some of the opposition analysis. We can see some of the key attacking players here, the left-hand side. We can see where their shot locality is. So you can see the second 6-yard box towards the back post area. These are the areas Miedemar, their top goal scorer and the league's top scorer, operates in. And so what we want to do here is look at what is the data telling us. So the data is telling us Arsenal are really strong against a 5-4-1 and Miedemar's worth a goal a game. So we need to look at which players make the key passes, create the key chances. Look to Arsenal's attacking framework. How do they create little openings for us? So you can see in this one where a lot of players run against the flow of play to try and draw defenders out to get in down the sides. We know the right-hand side combines extremely well, little combinations and little overlaps and little 1-2s to score in these kind of areas, these back post sort of localities. You can see the right-hand side again, the strength of it. From our assessment and our data analysis, these are the 3 players who have got the most expected threat. And we'll look at how they utilize them in their attacking framework. So here, this is what I would present to a management team on how they sort of structure, create those little openings and little gaps in the channel. Left-hand side, a little bit more penetrative for Miedemar to get through. Or they try and overload you onto one side, draw you across it, your footprint's a lot larger, create that +1 on the back line with overloading, and if they can work it across, they combine extremely well to cross from the right-hand side. You can see here, look at the numbers Arsenal have got here against the back line. I've not included the right back who's just a little bit deeper, but they've already got 4 to 5 players up against this line. And we don't want to leave it 1v1. We'll leave it 1v1 or we'll leave it where we're too narrow and getting drawn too far across. You can see the problems on this right-hand side that we're going to have where the right back's going to join in. And so we need to look at what would be the problems that they would cause in the 5-4-1. So little players, as I mentioned earlier, in these little 10 pockets. The overload against the back line. How could we turn that into a positive? So, for example, we've discussed as part of the strategy using Miedemar and actually leaving the passing lane a little bit open to her to create a predictable pass, to create a trap around her, to get 3-4 players around their best player, trying to turn essentially one of their best players into a weakness. Lots of little problems. So this is part of the analysis thing where we're looking at, what happens when the centre-backs dribble and drive. Once we get them into wide areas, how can we stop them doing something we'd identified in their play of switching from half space to half space? So this was the strategy that we came with on the day, and you can see clips of how this worked in the game after this. So you can see our 5-4-1 structure initially, our engagement line around the halfway line. We want our right wing back to stay tucked in so we can try and retain a 2v1 on Miedemar at all times. We don't really want them engaging in these wide areas where possible. And almost have this player between lines operating either in the midfield or in the back line to create a back 6 as and where we need. And her role is going to be to occupy the left back as best we can. If the left back's narrow, there's no point in her being wide. She can tuck in and be narrow in these instances to block off the half space. This is the weakness of our system. but we're going to turn it into a trap, give them what seems like a free pass into their best player, and then crowd the passing lanes from all directions. In order to nullify the threat of the left back, this is where we're going to use our right centre mid. We want them to be able to get out early in that back six on the first and second touch and force them backwards. But if they can't, this is where we now know there's going to be runners. And we need to anticipate early and go with those runs where possible. Our plan down the right hand side will be a little bit different. So what we're going to use is our left centre midfield here. We want to affect the quality of these 1-2s where they speed up the attack, they eliminate the back line, they get into those key assist zones where they create chances at the back post area. For this, I'm going to use our left centre mid to almost do a screening, almost man marking job, almost going into a back six in here. And last of all, when we do get them into these wide areas, we need to then control them and try and keep them into these. We know they like to switch from half space to half space, and this often draws players out, and they create those little openings for the right back and so on to get into those areas again. So we want to try and have a 10 in this situation, not a 9, who's either going to press centre mids, ball side centre mid from the blind side in here to try and keep them in half a pitch, or to try and cut out this passing lane so the only switch they can do is from centre backs. And that's a crucial detail, because when they're switching from centre backs, it means we'll be able to cover the horizontal shifts easier and we'll be able to create defensive symmetry on both sides. So let's have a look and see if it did work, what went well, and what we can learn from. So you can see our 5-4-1 structure, engagement line on the halfway line. And we can see now the role of our right centre mid. It's going to be her positioning is crucial to the success of this particular plan. Here, the left back is quite wide. We've got a trigger pass here. With the left back being quite wide, her position, look, is wider. But we're still in a good shape to be able to put a nice little triangle around the half space to Miedemar. And we can get that 2v1 on the left back early, who we know is really crucial towards progressing the play in the final third and getting into key space. If we look at the structure on the right hand side, we can see the half space again, where we're really looking at Beth Mead and trying to deny those combinations between her and the right back. We do not want them playing, and if they do, we want to crowd it out with, again, another good pressure zone. It's not perfect, this pressure zone, because we haven't cut off the inside supporting pass well, but we get away with it. Did it always work? No. So you can see here we're quite open and stretched at times. Miedemar's found a really good bit of space. And if this was problematic and happening on a regular basis, then we'd have to make an adjustment in game. So once again, just look again. We're shielding, screening. We don't want these 1-2s. We want to keep Beth Mead limited from the amount of touches she has on the ball. Centre mids are trying to control the half spaces where possible. And okay, so now you can see a little bit square on in terms of shape there. Back six, key player. So they've got through the middle of us. We've still got that 2v1 all the time around, and we'll always be able to occupy this key space that we know that she likes to operate in. So even though they've breached us centrally, which they're going to do because they're Arsenal, we've still got plenty of bodies in behind, and we're very difficult to break down. So you can see the 6-3-1 structure, good distances. We don't want the left back to be able to just get on this, open up and turn, because that's where they play the ball, the penetrated passes. So she's out early, trying to engage and affect the left side. Can you get there, arrive on time, force that play backwards? Centre mid again engaging here, with our left centre mid almost in the back line in as a back six. Great half space occupation, can't really get through. Matched up as a minimum in the channel. A little bit of feedback could be offered here about body shape and expecting this ball on the inside, but I think she just about does enough. And then it's about keeping them into half a pitch. So when we played them the time before, early in the season, they were switching from half space to half space, so it's something we wanted to learn from. Trying to either keep them in half a pitch or only allowing them to switch via centre backs. You can see the role of number 9. She's now a 10. She's cutting out these passes across the lines here. So again, if they want to switch the play, they've got to have a negative pass within that. And it's that negative pass that will give us that 2 or 3 seconds where we can now get into shape and get the good structures across on the opposite side. You can see we've got out to the left back, but she's got that time and space here. So this is what we'll have worked on in training. What do the patterns look like down this side? And look at the early anticipation here from what would normally be the right wing back. You see a second example. We can't get out to the left back in time. They're trying to pull us away, pull us apart to try and create those little openings. But when you're playing the back 6, you've still got a back 5 here. You're never compromising the distances. You're never compromising numbers in the penalty box. They're never going to get that +1 or be able to create those big openings. And you can see again the role of the number 9, either pressing the ball side centre mid or cutting out that switch so they can only go through the centre backs. And again, you can see because we've got the time, we can get the structures in place that we want on the opposite side of the pitch with the centre mid engaging well. Good pressure zone, bad touch, and we can press from different sides. And a good pressure zone example on this side, this was the trap, where it looks like we're leaving their best player a passing route to them. They're clearly going to take that, so in a sense, it becomes predictable. It's a risk, but you can see we're getting 4 players in and around this area, 4 to 5 players, and we're trying to close off and put players in cover shadow and be aggressive in that little area. We don't always want to spend all game defending, so where can we take the fight to them? So we looked at set pieces and throw in situations like this. And if you look at the role of our left wing back here, always on the thrower. We know Arsenal like to play little 1-2s and switch out in 2 passes, so we've put a player on the thrower so they can't play these little 1-2s. She doesn't have a long throw, and it means that she's always going to go short. We can always get 2 or 3 players double or treble pressing 2-3 players instantly in, and so that's where we'll take the fight and be a bit more aggressive, be a bit more positive, and try and create counter-attacking scenarios for ourselves. So we can have a look here at what the data shows. Their XG was only 1. Remember, they averaged an XG of 3 per game against teams down at the bottom. So from our point of view, it felt like, you know what, we psychologically, tactically got it right on the day. So that's the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you'll have gained some new ideas and some tactical concepts for if you're playing a side that's far superior to you, just ways and means in which you can try and limit them, restrict them, and stay in the game.